What's up, Unstoppable Ballers? Welcome to the channel. If you haven't already, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe so you get more notifications on amazing videos like this so you don't miss out on your ability to bulletproof your joints and improve your ability to perform athletically in whatever sport that you desire. You can be a baller in anything. You can be a basketball player. Dang, that's kind of loud. You can be a basketball player. You can be a soccer player, footballer. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be a dancer. You can be a baller in any regard, and this will benefit you. Okay, so let's talk about who we are, what we do, and what people think we do, and who people think we are, because there seems to be a misconception of what we do, and it's normal. You know, you look at people, and their way of understanding and perceiving the world comes down to things they're familiar with. So if they look at a squat rack in a gym and a bunch of empty space, they immediately begin to associate it with, oh, this is CrossFit, when it may very well not be the case. Maybe the owner just likes the Rogue fitness rack. I think it's a nice sturdy rack. That's it. They may look at a bunch of Olympic lifting platforms and think, oh, this is an Olympic lifting gym. They may look at a gym that has turf in it. Oh, this is an athletic center. They may look at massage therapy tables and think, oh, this might be a physical therapy clinic or a massage therapy clinic. But then they see all of it at once. They see a turf, they see a squat rack, they see a massage therapy table, they see that people are doing everything along the spectrum of physical therapy all the way to performance training, and they think, what the heck is this? So they have a hard time describing what we're doing. I was kind of like physical therapy, but it's not. But then I'm doing the strength stuff, then I'm doing conditioning, but then I'm also I'm relearning how to run, I'm relearning how to jump, I'm relearning how to do all the stuff that makes me an athlete. So I'm confused as to what the hell this is, but it's good. And that's all they know. It's hard to explain it to their friends. So we're going to break this down for you guys so you understand what it is we do, who we are, what we're not, and you know what you're getting into when you sign up with the Unstoppable Baller. So let's do it, team. I'm going to use my Lucid chart to help you understand this. Well, that's not my Lucid chart. Let me make sure I have it ready for you guys. Okay, pulling this up. There it is. There's my Lucid chart. Okay, I'm going to share this screen with you guys right now. Boom. Okay, here's my Lucid chart. All right, so you think about most physical therapy folks, like people think usually in extremes, whether you're either your physical therapy or you're the recovery side, or your athletic performance, which is, you know, the jumping, the sprinting, the change of direction, all the things that make you an athlete. So let's think about physical therapy. I started doing this earlier, so that's why you're seeing some stuff already filled up. Think about physical therapy, okay? Physical therapy, some of the main aims of physical therapy is to improve blood flow, depending on what happened to you, whether you're post-surgery or you're just have a chronic problem, okay? It's to improve blood flow. It's to mobilize and open up restricted tissue that's around the joint. So think if you're post-op, then it's a bunch of scar tissue. You have to break open the inflammation. You have to move out of there. And also mobilizing any tissue that's tight from years and years of overusing muscle or building chronic symptoms like bunions or building things like fasciitis or tendinosis or tendonitis, you know, anything that has an is or osis, anything that's degradative to your body, you're looking to now mobilize this stuff in any number of ways. You can use cupping, you can use massage, you can use gua sha blades, you can use dry needles. There's a whole slew of things you can use to begin to get this aim accomplished. But look, notice I'm saying the aim, because as long as you understand the aim, it doesn't really matter that you're labeled as a physical therapist or a chiro or this or that or this or that. You simply pick the aim required for the athlete or person and move them along what aims they need to accomplish from one phase to another until they get to the point where they can actually be functional and train like an athlete again, okay? But training like an athlete starts with the basics and the foundations, which most people skip. They jump right here. Literally, they jump right here, okay? No, rewind back. We're at physical therapy, right? So another big aim of physical therapy is restoring basic functional movement back to the body. So you can start thinking like, okay, look, I have to be able to walk upstairs. I have to be able to walk downstairs. Take my arms overhead, take my arms behind me. I have to be able to squat, lunge, twist to some degree. Are some basic things I have to be able to do that make me a human being. So physical therapy oftentimes Its main aim is to get you back there. Now, a lot of physical therapy, also if it's sports physical therapy, right? Sports therapists, they'll say, well, our job is to also get you back to performance, athletic performance. And oftentimes that is the aim, but it doesn't necessarily indicate that the athlete is really truly ready to get back into athletics. Oftentimes, the prescriptions of, hey, 3 to 4 months and you're back at it is a bit premature. And that's why people re-injure themselves so easily, because they're not really understanding that there comes certain milestones that you need to be able to hit, certain mobility patterns, certain positions you need to be able to recover and own. I want you to own certain positions before you can go into something dynamic where you're owning 5 or 6 different positions at one time, and it's dynamically moving from one position to another over and over and over. So you have to be able to own these positions. When I say own, I mean you can engage there, you can hold it all day, you're not trembling, it's not difficult for you, you don't have lack of range of motion, you don't have a lack of strength here, you can do it for a long period of time. All right. So a lot of physical therapy tends to tout this stuff and then return back to performance, but doesn't necessarily give you the middle. Okay. What needs to truly happen in the middle? And they kind of give you some stuff in the middle, some basic strength movements, but it ends up being a bit canned, like, oh, you got to do glute bridges, you got to do fire hydrants, you got to do, let's see, you got to do planks, and you have to do wall slides on the wall, or you move your shoulder. You have to do your Y, T's, and W's to get your shoulder rotator cuff strong. You got to do your prehab. You got to do your band pull aparts, and your shoulder dislocates. And this stuff is just canned stuff. Okay, it's worked to some degree, but it doesn't work for everyone. And that's the part that needs to be understood. So let's think about performance. Let's look at the other extreme. Okay, so the other extreme is running, sprinting, jumping, changing direction, or you can think agility, and then you can think things like throwing, hitting, a little bigger, throwing, hitting, taking impact even. So you can think of taking impact like absorbing force to the ground. When you jump and land, you can think of taking impact by someone trying to push you over, taking impact from a defender. There's so many ways you could think about impact. So these are some of the big things here. When you watch someone saying that they're an athletic performance specialist, they're doing things like making people more optimal at running. They're changing your running form. They're trying to time how well your knees lift off the ground and how well they land on the running phase, on the float phase where you're off the ground when you're running, and on the drive phase when you're digging your feet into the ground, pushing back behind you. Or they begin to figure out how much force needs to be produced in the ground to drive your body up in the air and literally soar when you're jumping, and then land and absorb that force without hurting your joints. They're thinking, how fast can they change direction from one side to the other and then quickly explode to the next position? They're measuring speed of how far you can throw. They're measuring all sorts of things. How much force can you produce pushing someone over? Okay, footballers, basketballers, doesn't matter what it is. So you're looking at these two extremes. And most people think they have to be done independently, one or the other. So they jump from one person to another, and there isn't enough continuity to understand that it needs to be a spectrum. So in all honesty, we saw a problem with this. I saw a problem with this within my own body as I incurred a whole lot of injuries. My knees, my feet, both knees degraded to the point where they're bone on bone. L4, L5 herniation, 2 shoulders that were dislocated, T-spine that was jacked up, you name it. And doctors wanted to operate on my shoulders. They wanted to operate on my knees and give me knee replacements. And I said no. So I went on a hero's journey to figure out who the heck I am. And that process never ends, guys. Still doing it. And how my body works and why it was, at the time, it felt like it was betraying me. So why is this happening? And I met a bunch of mentors who then led me to other mentors, and it just kept going until I realized that they're all teaching me tools that allow me to understand parts of the healing journey, parts of the performance journey, but they weren't really doing something that was really important for me, which was bridging the gap. So my whole focus was I'm going to experiment with taking these tools and combining it with other parts of performance, but do it in such a fashion where it builds someone up, it progresses them from the pure extreme of being injury or having an injury and being debilitated to going all the way to being able to perform even better than you did before, even if the odds are stacked against you. Even if I'm bone on bone or shoulders were dislocated in L4, L5 herniation, I was like, no, there's got to be a way. I've seen examples of this and no one's talking about this enough. Until now, we're starting to see it come about. And as I did this, I experimented on myself and healed from everything. My shoulders are great. My knees are fine. My ankles are awesome. My lower back and my hips feel great. You know, there's no problems. I'm able to play sports and I'm able to do things that doctor said I never would be able to do. Doctor said I'd never be able to squat to a toilet seat. I'd never be able to take my arms overhead, certain degrees of range of motion, or it would take a lot to get there, rather. So I say this, you know, mainly to empower you here, because there's so much you can do, and you don't have to be defined by extremes. Oh, I got to run. If I don't run, I'm going to lose it. If I don't jump, I'm going to lose it. If I don't play my sport, I'm going to lose all my skills. Or the other end of, oh, I want to be so conservative. I just want to like do my physical therapy band work and do my inflammation stuff, my icing and my rest and my compression and my elevation. And that's it. You don't have to reside in the extremes, and you don't have to label people by extremes either. If you just understand the aims for each phase of training, okay? It's a really funny looking bridge. There we go. So who we are, what the heck do we do with the Unstoppable Baller? We are the bridge, okay? We are the bridge between this and this. Okay, so even this, when we're helping people get to this phase of training, it's actually with the end in mind. It's already progressing you towards movements that you may be weak at or vulnerable at. And the whole premise at the Unstoppable Baller is this, okay? I take this over, boom, here's the premise. Turn your greatest weaknesses into your greatest, not greatest, turn your weaknesses, not greatest, turn your weaknesses or vulnerabilities into your greatest strengths. Some air spell. Okay, into your greatest strengths. That is the main crux of what we do. Okay. And that means to do this, we have to look at every phase of a human's healing journey from an injury, all the way to their performance journey, which is doing the things they love to do. Okay. Jump, run, sprint, change direction, do the things that make them an athlete. And we can't think of this as just protocols and knee protocol and shoulder protocol. You have to do these 4 movements and these therapy movements. No, we got to think a bit deeper than that. We have to think about a few things. And at the Unstoppable Baller, we think about these things. A, what does sport or activity demand from our body? That's question 1. We break this down. That means what does every joint require? What does every muscle require? What does every tendon require? And this means we're looking at a couple of things, okay? So we're looking at what does your muscles require? We're looking at what your joints require. What ranges of motion do you have currently and what do you not have? Okay, we're looking at what your metabolic system requires. So what kind of foods do you need to thrive? Okay. What does your nervous system require? So now we're looking at your mind, looking at how well you regulate your mind, how well you think, your awareness of yourself, your self-concept of who you are, how well you deal with negative thoughts, how you identify with who you truly are and what you disidentify with. We're looking at Your movement patterns, how well you move, why it's hard for you to get into certain positions, why you can't efficiently run or jump or change direction. We're looking at that too. Do the things that make you an athlete, or get low on defense, or be able to change direction, be able to cross someone over, be able to hezzy, be able to dunk, all the things that make you an athlete. We're looking at those things. And if this is the case, we're looking at your nervous system, your metabolic system, your movement patterns, your joints, your muscles, obviously this is kind of included here, your emotions, your ability to regulate your emotions and not be defined by them, not be pulled by them. We're looking at all these things, okay? And if we don't understand all of this, then we're only looking at you in a short snippet of time. We're not looking at the whole picture. And that's the problem with a lot of other methods here, is that they're looking only at a short snippet of time. They're looking at you when you present yourself. Whatever you share with them is what they're taking as face value. But the more details we have, the more we can bridge this gap over here. Because this gap comes with a lot of different things, guys. Your mind, your emotional system, your fear of possibly moving, your relationship to pain, relationship to yourself, your sport. It comes with how well do you eat? What do you put into your body? How well do you sleep? How well do you tend to your lifestyle habits? How well do you tend to your relationships? So this whole thing, guys, begets the next thing, which is we have to look at your entire life, your mind, your body, your health, right? That's obvious. We got to look at your family and friend support. We got to look at your career. Maybe your sport is your career, or you're choosing for your sport to be your career, or something else. You're significant if you have a significant, if that's something you're into. Or maybe your significant is a family member. Maybe your significant is your pet, whatever it might be. Who's a significant person in your life that you spend very, very intimate time with? And once we understand this whole picture again, then we can begin to figure out what might be in the way, what's supporting you, what's detracting you from your goals. There's a lot of deep parts of this. We're looking at your mind, body, and health, your family and friends, your career, significant. And then in terms of your sport, we know on a deep level, we got to understand what it requires from your muscles, your tendons, your joints, your metabolic system, your nervous system, your emotions, your movement patterns. We're looking at all of it. Okay. And once we understand what your sport requires, we can then build the specific positions and specific movements that are needed to be mastered for these athletic positions, these athletic movements you have to do. So running requires you to flex your hip and bend your knee and dorsiflex your ankle. So can you even do that without actually running? Can you get into a position where you have to do those things? And we go all the way basic here. And we build that over time. We build, and several movement patterns that require you to do that until you get here. Okay? It's not so much that it's one or the other. It's understanding proportionately where you have to reside. In the beginning, one of my shifus told me this when I started looking at mentors. In the beginning, they talk about good movement is a bit of an art. And good movement is a mixture of nuance, which is details, and imperfection, figuring it out as you go. Like there's some things that are innate within you as a human being. You just try to do it. Running is kind of in our body. Walking is in our body. Climbing is in our body. It's wired in from an evolutionary perspective. But a whole idea is to, whenever you're hurt, bring the nuance back in, because we have to relearn. Whatever happened whenever we got hurt was not because of some freak accident. Very rarely, it's just a freak accident that takes us there. Very rarely. It is often a culmination of possibly poor movement patterns over time, a negative thought, too much stress, are not enough food, not enough sleep. And over time, that builds and culminates in that one event that's your injury, when your body has had enough. And when you can recognize this, then we can begin to look back and say, okay, we need a little more nuance here. We need a little more details. We have to bring more awareness as to how we breathe, how we use our abs, how we posture ourselves, how we connect, what muscles we need to engage, how we engage them. Can we keep them on in a certain position? Do we lose the connection? These are the things we're looking for in the beginning. That's the nuance part. And we're keeping the nuance as much as possible. Every now and then we're testing you and more dynamic stuff to see if you can just have a bit of imperfection. Can your body handle imperfect moments? Because you're going to have imperfect moments whenever you're playing your sport. You're not going to always be in a controlled environment. So the idea is to build your body up in a controlled environment first, where you have more semblance of control. And then you learn over time to expose yourself to more and more situations that make you feel less in control. But since you've done all the work progressively, you're able to mitigate any sort of removal from a safe position. You're able to mitigate or prevent any sort of deviation that's off norm. And that is the idea. That is the crux of the Unstoppable Baller, is that we go from a controlled environment to a more uncontrolled environment. And so much so, you've done all the nuance work that the uncontrolled environment feels controlled. You're in a flow state. You're not thinking about it anymore. You've learned to control and harness your power. And then when you're ready to unleash it, you unleash just enough, nothing excessive. And you go back to nuance again. Okay, you go back to nuance and you repeat that whole cycle. So it's proportionate. Where are you on the spectrum? You might need to spend more time here on this side. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle. Maybe you are here, but you need to keep working on things back here to keep pushing you forward to become more of an optimal athlete. It's never just one place that you're residing. There's no absolute. You're not just a runner. You're not just a basketball player, not just a football player. You're a human being first. Okay. And then from there, as you build out what's necessary to be human, then you build out what's necessary to be an athlete, which is all these skills right here. Build that over time from controlled to more uncontrolled, unpredictable environments. And now you're unstoppable. And that is the crux of the Unstoppable Baller. No, we're not a chiropractor, not a physical therapist. We're not a massage therapist. We're not a doctor. We're not a Reiki person. We're not a healer. We're not some woo-woo person. We're looking at all of it. We're not a psychologist, you know. But we figured out we cannot divorce any of those things from this process. You just cannot. You can't divorce the mind from healing. You can't divorce the mind from training. You can't divorce the body from nutrition. You can't divorce the mind from nutrition. You got to see them all as one. And so we're coming in strong here, saying that we're bringing all of it to the forefront. No more trying to do one thing or another. We have to bring this forward. And the more we can bring this forward, the more we can start to foster collaborations with people, bring them into this space and help athletes truly succeed from several prongs. Someone had to start it. And I figured out that if it's not anyone else right now, let it be us. Let's do it. Let athletes benefit, let human beings benefit from this process in the meantime. So that's what we do, guys. We bridge the gap. We look at everything required to be a human first. We look at everything that's required from your sport. We break it down, look at every aspect of your life, make sure it's contributing towards your ultimate vision for your sport or activity. And if it's not, we figure out ways to let go. And then from there, we slowly build you along the spectrum from predictable to unpredictable. And yes, we're rewiring all this at the end of the day. We're going to help you change direction and run faster and jump higher and do all that, but not without sitting on a solid foundation. Not without you being able to do it in a basic, fundamental way, looking at your weaknesses, looking at your vulnerabilities and truly turning them into your strengths. Not just lifting weights for the sake of lifting weights, but getting strong in the positions that matter for you. That's what truly matters in the sport. When your knee has to go over your foot, when you're having to sit low on defense, when you're having to sit low on defense and take impact from a defender at the same time. That's where it matters. So that's what we do in a nutshell. Let me know if this gives you more clarity as to what the unstoppable, can't speak, what the Unstoppable Baller is about. And the more feedback I get from you guys, the more I can explain it in better ways for people to absorb and understand so they can align and take to this process really well. A lot of the times people don't take the processes or ways of doing things because they don't understand the context. So I'm happy to provide more context. I'm happy to go into this more. And I'm looking forward to supporting more of you in this journey as an unstoppable baller, an unstoppable athlete. Talk to you soon. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. And also, if you'd like to work with a coach and have that coach help you understand why the injury happened, what happened to your body, why you can't play the sport in the way you desire, and build out a plan for the next 3, 4, 6 to even 12 months, then look, you get an opportunity to sit down with one of our coaches and book an assessment call. This is the most important call you'll ever take in your life, because then you'll learn exactly how to take back the control of your body. Understand all the things we're teaching you, you're going to know how to keep for the rest of your life and be able to play your sport till you're 90, be able to have a body that you're in control of till you're 150 years old, okay? Or however long you choose to live. Much love. Until next time, peace.